My name is John Haddock, and the odd noon hour I'm a volunteer for the Immigration Partnership, but the rest of the day, about 20 hours a day, I work for the YMCA in the region here. So it's my pleasure as the chair of the Immigration Partnership to welcome everybody here. I think it's a collection of a lot of work that's been done over a number of months to have our new community action plan. So we thought it was appropriate to say thank you, to celebrate, and to engage ourselves to step forward, because that's what it's all about. So throughout the next hour and a bit, you'll be hearing from representatives from each of the pillar groups. You'll also be hearing from our manager, Joanne Gibson. Appreciate all the work that she's done here. And our vice chair of the Immigration Partnership, Peter Donahue. And as well, we'll be hearing from John Lord and Lisette Jacinto, talking about it's really about change. So we've got some remarks as well that will hopefully resonate with each of us and help us moving forward. So I don't know why it took months to do this, but this is what we've accomplished. Seriously, there is a community action plan brief that's in your package, and there is a more detailed document that will soon be available off the website. But the Immigration Partnership, the Council, and the pillar groups. I try to explain to some of my colleagues and friends, like, well, what is it that you actually do? So I thought the best way to try to indicate that, and this is how I explain it to some of my friends and my colleagues and my neighbors. And I like to tell some stories, and these are all true stories that I tell, by the way. But there's one about, fall fairs. I mean, do people know what fall fairs are? We have them here, Mennonite country, but it's throughout Ontario and I think in other parts of Canada, and perhaps those that are new to Canada, I encourage you to go to your fall fair. But one of the great events in the fall fairs is when you judge the biggest pumpkin, the best squash, the sweetest corn, or whatever. So there's always the competitions on the produce that's generated. Well, there was this one fall fair, was one area that there was a certain farmer every year won the best corn. Always had the best corn. And of course, there was finally some inquiries into what did he do? How did he specialize things? What were his secrets that made his corn the best? And quite surprisingly, the farmer was quite willing to share. And he said, you know what? I actually give my seeds to my neighbors. And the journalist was somewhat puzzled. You mean you give your neighbor your seed? And the farmer said, yeah, well, think about it in terms of the pollination of corn. And it doesn't stop at your fences. It doesn't stop in your block. Like the seeds from the corn, the pollination process, it just blows around everywhere. If my neighbor had inferior corn, then it would affect my corn. So I guess I would bring that analogy back. I want a great region. I want the best region for me. But part of that process is investing in my neighbors and in other people so that it's a process of lifting up and supporting and caring. It's not a process of competition and dividing and segregating. So to me, that's what Immigration Partnership Council is about. It's a number of people collectively in our roles, could be our work roles, could be our volunteer roles, could be what we believe is important, working together for a collective purpose to make our region better for everybody. So that is what I would describe, that's how I describe our Immigration Partnership. Okay, we'll go to the next slide, okay? There's the one with the pillars. Yeah, okay. I'll stick the notes now, Joanne, okay? So how many people remember this diagram? How many people in this room remember this diagram? Okay. There's a few survivors, okay? I think we looked at this, how many years ago did we look at this? About 5 years ago? Through some collective conversations in the community, we said this is the model of our immigration partnership. So you wonder where pillars come from? Well, look at those. Those are actually, we can make a nice diagram with pillars in them where we have a council overseeing the strategy and ensuring that we're dealing with the important issues we want to deal with. And then there are 3 pillar groups: belong, settle, and work, that actually put a lot of planning into conducting the actual work that needs to be done, and they themselves can create some action groups to be able to respond to some specific tasks that need to be done. So the hallmark is that there's a lot of communication between the pillar groups and the council, and I think there's through council we ensure that there's integration between the pillar groups. But in terms of a delivery model, that's as good as we can do. Okay. But and I think it's very appropriate, though. I think it's very accurate. This is my last little African proverb. We do work with our YMCAs in Africa, and it was shared with me with a group of African Ys. If you go quickly, you'll go alone. If you take your time, you'll go together and you'll go further. So to me, this has taken a lot of time to sort out and to organize, and for a lot of us to really understand what the roles mean, what the responsibilities mean, and how we can contribute to it, and the linkages between the pillar groups and the council. So I've spent far too many meetings on governance. It's all very good, but I'm more excited now with our revised community action plan to see some of the outcomes that are coming from the pillar groups, because that's really what we're all together for. Now, let's see if I've forgotten anything. So really, it's the model for collective action. Thanks. So, as I mentioned before, this is a summary of our community action plan. Really, what we're celebrating here is basically marking the fact that we've gone through a process to revisit the original community action plan, to take some good parts out of it, and to bring in some of the emerging and current issues, and to basically ratify the important things that we believe need to be done and how we plan on doing it. And you'll hear again from each of the pillar groups, because that's really where a lot of the work, that's where the work happens. We had over 150 people participate in the process. Immigrants, service providers, settlement agencies, community agencies, government representatives, and employers. And I know Joanne and her staff had countless meetings, and really appreciate the diligence and the comprehensive approach that was done in order to reflect back a plan of and from the community. So important work was done. We've got our community action plan. We're starting the implementation. We believed it was time just to communicate that process and make our almost like our inner circle aware that we're on the move.